Whoop. What's going on, guys? I am that was like we had a little hiccup there when we went in when we transitioned. Transitioning from laptop to for off of desktop is a completely different ballgame. What's going on? We got Verdine 16, we got Mark Schoen in the house, Oz Travels is here. I'm sure we got that Mike R guy in the house somewhere as well.
Somewhere.
Um, Welcome to the Wednesday Showbert. Today I am in Denver, Colorado for work. So I'm operating out of Studio B. And we have a lot to talk about today. I've been excited about this show all week because of, a bunch of things going on. Cruise Op, Mario G, Mr. Roll Up. Everybody's trickling on in. Um, Mike, if you wouldn't mind doing the tweet, I'll retweet you this time.
Yep, I just sent it out.
Okay, perfect. Um, yeah, so we had some fun times, some shenanigans going on this week in on Twitter, I should say.
Yeah, it's been and it's only Wednesday. And I mean, I feel like we've had a full week and I mean, today was I on the meter of crazy and saucy, I would say Monday and Tuesday were like 9.8 out of 10.
Right.
And then I would say today was probably like maybe a 4.5. So like most of the heavy lifting was Monday and Tuesday, and I mean it was it was intense. And you were right in the thick of things.
Yeah, it caused a bit of stir right between the players' wives. Um, you
Who
know,
knew?
Obviously I was kidding around. For anybody's following along on Twitter, um, so on Mondays, I typically take my daughter to gymnastics, and I instead of going inside to be around other people during pandemic, I sit in my car and I've got nothing to do, so I just look for things to entertain myself with. Lynn Savage, how's it going? So I was looking at my Instagram stories and I noticed Emily Mayfield had posted a story of cooking, which she typically does. She does lots of cooking videos. She does a lot of healthy cooking, so it was, I just noticed it. And then I was looking at it, and when she kind of panned the camera over to her pan, what was in the pan, it was all vegetables. And I noticed that there wasn't any seasoning on the vegetables. So I
And
decided to,
and
to
this, folks, is where the plot thickens, as they say.
as they say. So I decided to make a funny and take a screenshot, and I tweeted it out. I thought it was obvious to everybody that I was joking, right? The words that I was using, the context that I was saying, I thought everybody was going to get the joke right. I was just kidding around. And some people got it, and some people just could not read internet sarcasm. And then Wyatt Teller's wife comes to her defense, like in a way. Then it just caused a big stir, right? And then the next day, the next day when I was leaving to go to Denver, I looked and I was like, oh my God, Emily Mayfield now had issued a statement about it, like a
True
follow up
story.
statement, all this kind of stuff. So I'm sitting there and I'm laughing and I was like, God, why does anybody give two craps about what I say on Twitter? It makes no sense to me. But nonetheless, it was funny. I hope you got a kick out of it.
Oh yeah, it was great. And I mean, like we said, I mean, it was. I mean, well, to be fair, it started on Sunday with the 45-7 shellacking,
Yeah.
and then yeah. I mean, really, when you think about it, so we got waxed in New England,
Yeah.
and then you have the press conferences,
Yeah.
and that's what lit the fuse. And then you know how we are. Brown's Twitter then took that and ran with it, and then it was just nonstop. And then your your little thing with the food, which was a riot, like we just said. And then last night, good old Mary Kay, you know, editing out the whole interview, and just putting the stuff in the interview that and it's funny because, and I don't want to give too much time to her because you know how I feel about that, but you know, here's a guy that's doing good for the community. He's handing out turkeys for Thanksgiving to, to the unfortunate folks that it's hard to come by, and money's tight, and it's a great thing that they do. And you know, he doesn't have to answer any questions about football if he doesn't want to, but he's a nice guy, and he'll answer what he answered.
Yeah.
And you know, you if you're going to be a beat writer for a team, and I saw a lot of different takes, oh well, that's her job, and that's what she's supposed to do.
Is it
Look, if those were the only questions that were asked, I would say, okay, that she did do her job. She threw out, she had 3-question opportunity. She threw out those questions and those answers. But that wasn't the case, because she just threw out there what would look negative and get clicks on social media, instead of painting the picture of, hey, yeah, the offense isn't working. Yeah, I'm not getting the ball the way I want to get it.
Mm-hmm.
But hey, Baker is hurt, and he's playing through it. He's fighting through it. We're all fighting through it. We're not giving up, and the playoffs are still very much in our sight. I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's pretty much what he said.
Right.
And she neglected to put that part in. She rather give you, the information that is going to be, divisive. So it's just, some of these writers are, and we talked about it, Mike, a couple of weeks ago, or maybe last week, that, it's good that we're starting to see a new, some new blood, so to speak, in the, in that beat writer role, because I mean, it's just out of hand. I mean, Tony Grossi asked Stefanski a question today. It was like, Jarvis has the knee, Higgins is non-existent, Odell's not here. Like, why are we speaking about Odell? Odell already played a game with another team. And this is just how bad these two are. But I digress.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I mean, going back to again to the game, and then Miles' comments in the presser as well about, hey, we're not making adjustments.
Right.
That is, and then Stefanski then had to have a conversation with him about that. And it's like, look, man, I mean, I think a lot of times we got to realize, like, these guys are kids. They're a couple years out of college.
Yeah.
They're just kids. And sometimes they just say whatever, like, on their mind or in their heart at that moment. I don't think Miles really meant to throw Joe Woods under the bus in any way. I mean, it's not like Miles produced an 11-minute video of all the adjustments they failed to make, right? And just threw out Joe Woods under the bus. He just said, he's like, hey, we just failed to make the adjustments at halftime, or we failed to make the adjustments during the game. And that has been something that has been clearly evident throughout the Joe Woods era, is that he is unwilling to make adjustments and stay on his toes. And that's just what it is. Miles called it out. So then you have the Jarvis situation, where I was listening to Ken Carman this morning. They were talking about it with is it Lupina? Who's the other guy? Like Luna?
Oh, Anthony Lima.
Lima. Yeah. So I was listening to him, and Ken's going off because Jarvis said the word either. Did you catch that?
It's funny because Ken Carman put out like a snippet. He's like, oh, you have to listen to what happened at 6:40. So I rewound it to 6:40, and it was nothing big. It was about Trubisky. But then I think they were talking about, was that about like 7 o'clock-ish when you were listening? Between 7 and 8 hour?
I want to say it was earlier than that.
Okay. Yeah. So I must have just missed that part. I just rewound that, and I heard them talking about Jarvis, and it was like maybe 10 of 8 o'clock, but I had to get ready, and I shut it off. But I I'm interested to hear what you have to say because I
So basically, what Ken was saying, which was actually interesting that he caught this, was
mhm,
because he put out a tweet. He's like, I heard something on that Jarvis quote, and it's really, I don't want this to be upsetting me, but it's upsetting me. Basically, is what he was saying.
right,
And so then he played the clip, and what he said, Jarvis said, "I'm not getting the ball much either," and it was the word either that stood
mm,
out to Ken because he's like, either in terms of like who is he referencing
right,
as the initial, because the question wasn't, hey, Odell or anybody was
right.
saying that they weren't getting the ball. Jarvis then comments out of the blue and says, I'm not getting the ball much either.
Interesting.
And that was the thing where Ken was then relating it to, are things bad between Jarvis and Baker now? Like, is there friction between Jarvis and Baker? So here's my theory on it.
Yep.
Everybody's frustrated right now. The coaches are frustrated. The front office is frustrated. The players are frustrated. The fans are frustrated. Obviously, everything is kind of shaky right now because the Browns have a tremendous amount of talent and it's not getting done. And so they're looking for an answer. And, the leaders, you start off with who are the paid leaders, which are the coaches, who aren't doing a great job. Stefanski's not doing a great job with play calling this year. And Joe Woods is not doing a good job with defensive strategy. So it starts there. Then it goes down to the player leaders. And whether or not, like, Odell Beckham wasn't a captain of the team, but you could tell based off of his exit and how the players, some of the players were, going beside themselves, going out of the way to wish him luck and tell him that he was their brother and all this great stuff. Great teammate, blah, blah, blah. So all of this drama, I think, came to a head in the Patriots game. I think it was too fresh for the Bengals game. It was almost like they were still in the middle of it during the Bengals game, and they didn't get a chance to like really, really impact them. It's almost like, when you get, injured, and like it doesn't hurt right away, but it hurts like 2 or 3 days later.
You're waiting for the blood, and then
That
it hurts.
exactly. So that was the thing. They were still in the process of being hurt. They took care of business in Cincinnati. Then they go to New England and get the doors knocked off of them. Like, I think that was the worst loss that I have seen in maybe the last 10 years. I mean, that was worse than Hugh Jackson losses.
Yeah, it was bad, and
He
it
was
was
quitting.
like the only thing I could go back to in the modern era, and when I say that, meaning this group, and I guess it wasn't even. Well, yeah, it was. It was last year in Stefanski's game, the first game against the Ravens when they just annihilated us. But that was, I believe that was game one last year,
Yeah.
and it was a weird year. There was no training camp or whatever, so you could chalk that one up, and it wasn't even. I mean, they don't get me wrong. I mean, they didn't play good against the Ravens last year, but in that opener, but it was nothing to where the abysmal, putrid give up that we saw, on Sunday. And before I even elaborate on that, you just made me think of something that I was thinking about earlier. And before the show, I always have, my iPad with everything that I want to hit on this show. And the one thing that I forgot that I wanted to talk about, and you just brought up, and I'd like to hear what you have to say, and I'd like to hear what chat thinks of this. But
Yeah.
if you look around the NFL, so you figure 32 teams, and you look at the way we do things in terms of I'm just going to call it what I feel like it is. And you and I have talked about this before, and I'm making a judgment call on it today on November 17th, 2021. The whole, oh, today, since Charlie Ugley had a great practice week this week, he's going to be the captain, and because AJ Green had a good week, or MJ Stewart had a good week, they're going to be the game captain. You don't see that around the NFL, right? Around the NFL, teams have captains, and they have captains for a reason, because those guys were voted by their peers that they're leaders on the team, and those are the guys that you look to. And right now, when if you looked around the locker room, you'd probably say Baker, Jarvis, Miles, right? But is it? I mean, we don't know. I mean, we think so. They're the ones that give the speech and what have you. But point being, we don't have consistent captains that are constantly trying to provide a message week in and week out. We just have, we'll use the three guys I just talked about. We have three guys that assume the role without having the patch, right? So how are you getting that message consistently through the locker room when you don't know? I mean, you can't run a country without a figurehead, right?
Yeah.
You can't run a business without a figurehead. So why are we running a team in a locker room without a figurehead, right?
No, I agree. I think it's Bush League.
Yeah.
I think it's very Bush League. And I think that it's something that is just silly. It's like, have your captains. Don't run this high school motivation. Work hard in practice. You get to be the, the de facto, or the symbolic captain for the week. Just stop that shit. I mean, this is one of the pieces that I was afraid of the most when I was vocally upset that we hired Kevin Stefanski, because he's learning on the job. He had a lot of success. I mean, he was coach of the year, but really he was rookie coach of the year last year, because and you and I have talked about this quite a bit. He benefited from not having people cheering in the stands and all the pressure and all the noises. He could think clearly. He was in a vacuum calling plays.
Yep.
And now you got him out there with the pressure of the game, with the heat of the moment, and he's down there on the field like a high school coach, not overlooking the field like most offensive coordinators. Not all, but most. Right? And Joe Woods on the field, not overlooking the field like most defensive coordinators. And there's a reason why you do that, by the way.
Yeah.
There's a reason. So you could survey it in real time and look to see where players are. You miss things because of the angles if you're on the damn field. Now, can you smell the players? Sure, but at the end of the day, you're in that position. It's a strategy position, and they are putting themselves at a disadvantage for being on the field. I mean, Josh McDaniel does it. He's on the field. I think the guys who call plays from the field are posturing to be on camera and to be looked at as, hey, that guy could be a head coach because he's on the sidelines. Because it certainly does not provide any strategic value to do that. But anyway, getting back to it, I think that we're fighting an uphill battle right now. We're fighting a battle of demons internally, and we're doing a lot of different stuff that is hurting us right now.
Yeah, and and I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but you look at Sunday, right? So it's a get right game, essentially, right? You just got your ass handed to you, and now you get to come home to your place to play the woeful Lions, who might not even have their quarterback. Goff is out with an oblique, and a kid named Tim Boyle would be the starter, and I've never heard that name in my life. But with that being said, we are going to learn a lot, I think, on Sunday, because one or two things is going to happen. They're either going to come out and they're going to beat the snot out of the Lions, and it's going to be, that get right game that I just talked about, or it could be close, and then we're still talking about that. Or shall I even say it? I don't want to say it, but you all know what I'm going to say. If for some strange reason, right, reasons unbeknownst to us, they find a way to lose that game, now all bets are off. And I have no idea what is going to happen from the top on down. I mean, this is a very good opportunity, and we'll see. I mean, the players have been posturing, trying to say the right things today in the interviews. And
Hold on, Mike. We have I'm switching some audio, so hold on for me for 1 second. Everybody hang tight. Okay. He was saying that there was an echo, so I want to make sure that I can make sure I fix that. All right, Mike, give me a sound check real quick. Mike, can you hear me?
the winning teams, the record is horrendous. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Mike, I lost you there for a second.
Which part?
I lost you kind of towards the end.
Which part was I ranting on?
I missed it, so I apologize.
No, it wasn't. It was just me on a soapbox, basically saying that we'll find out on Sunday if this actually is in fact.
Yeah, you were saying like if we, God forbid, we lose the game.
Oh yeah, then all bets are off for you from top on down. Now, I'm not saying there's going to be a coaching change or anything like that, but from the head coaching standpoint, I should say. But if this thing somehow spiraled out of control, you're going to see a lot of changes. And I hope that's not the case. I mean, we're all fans. We want to see them get it right, but it just seems like, we just can't get out of the mud. Every time we think we're out of the mud, it rains and we're back in it. So I just, we'll see.
If we lose this game, I think all hell will break loose.
Without a doubt.
I think we're looking at, depending upon what causes it, right? If it's a close game and the defense plays well, the offense plays well, and Chase just misses a kick, that's, if it's Baker throws 3 interceptions, I mean, we got to shut him down. We got to give it to Case, because he shouldn't be throwing 3 interceptions against any team, let alone the Lions. And it's clearly a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. If it's the defense giving up 30 to 40 points against the Lions, holy hell, dude. I mean, we have 8 new starters on offense. We went out and spent money on Walker and John Johnson and Troy Hill and Jadeveon Clowney. And then we drafted Newsome and we drafted JOK. I mean, we put resources into this defense, and the defense should not have gone from 19th to 24th. It should have been 19th to like 9th. That was the kind of defense that we were promised here.
And to go along with that, and I had this conversation with some of the guys that sit behind us. But if I go back to the Houston game, right?
Mhm.
It was almost I throw the Kansas City game out. And the reason why I throw that game out is everybody was hyped going into that game. It was a rematch of last year's matchup. And everybody was hyped for that game. I mean, so were the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs sucked after that, and they're only starting to get their sea legs back. But then we had the Houston game, and I sat there and I watched that game, and we couldn't do anything. I mean, don't get me wrong, we could run because we could always run until we can't run. But we were running the ball well, but the defense was horrendous. And
They couldn't get off the ball
Baker,
again. They couldn't
no,
get off the damn field.
no. And from an offensive standpoint, Baker was playing like garbage. If you go back and you watch that film from that Houston game,
Pre-injury too.
pre-injury, because he didn't get injured till later, he was not playing well that whole game. And then he got hurt. But I really believe that Houston game it's a microcosm of the season. Like that team that I was watching on the field that day wasn't even worthy of third place in the division. And yeah, I'm sorry. The last thing I'm going to say to you before you take over, and you're going to agree with me, if Tyrod doesn't pull up with that hamstring, we might have gone off the rails a little bit early and been sitting at 0-2.
If Tyrod was playing like he played in the first half before he hurt himself, I think there's a very good chance we lose that game.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
And I think the rails would have been there would have been meltdowns.
I agree.
Now let me ask you this:
Yeah.
Do you think this team has an identity?
I mean, you could say the only thing I could say if you said to me, give me an identity, I'd say, okay, they're a run team. That's it though. I don't know what else I would say. I mean, I don't have anything positive from the defensive side of the ball. I can't even. I mean, Miles is just Miles. He's a one-man wrecking crew. If he's on any other team, I hate to say this, but imagine like how many sacks like Miles would have on the other side of TJ Watt in Pittsburgh. But or even on the Ravens for that matter. But
yeah, they'd actually use him, right?
Correct. And the one thing, and this goes with the identity. We're on the field in 13 personnel so many times, right? That you got one wide receiver on the field. So I don't. It's very hard to. I almost feel like you have to be perfect, right, in order for this offense to work the way that it's supposed to work, if that makes sense.
Well, I think you're right when you said we're a running team. And I think that's what Stefanski designed the offense to be. And then you have Jedrick Wills gets hurt in the first game. Then you have Conklin gets hurt. And it's like, okay, now we got to move guys around. Hudson's in there and Blake Hance is in there. And not to say that they did bad, but it changes the dynamic of the team. Like our strength is now it's mediocre. It's not a full, sharp edged sword. It's a blunt weapon, which is like not the big, we lose some of the advantage. Then you have, one of the top running backs in the league, Nick Chubb, get injured. Then you have one of the top running backs in the league, Kareem Hunt, get injured. And you're asking Dearness Johnson to step up and play well, and he certainly has. But it takes our dimension of run, which is difficult to beat, and it says, okay, you don't have that anymore. You don't have that strategic weapon that you have. Your strategic advantage in the run game with an elite offensive line and two elite running backs that you can ping pong in the game. You run for 3 sets, then bring in the other guy with fresh legs. He runs for 3 sets. That was, I mean, it's nearly unstoppable having that kind of strategy, right? Okay, then you get Dearness Johnson coming in, who played well, don't get me wrong, but because now you can't do what you wanted to do with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, you now have to put the ball in Baker's hands.
Correct.
Okay?
And this is where it gets dicey.
And so what they do is they're putting 8, 9 men in the box and saying, okay, I mean, at the end of the day, to have a good run with 9 men in the box, it's almost by accident because you don't have that many. You don't have 9 guys blocking, right? You just don't. So they're going to say we're going to go one-on-one coverage with the wide receivers out, out wide. He's not throwing to him anyway, and they want to run the ball. That's what their nature is. That's what their safe spot is, running the ball. So let's put all these guys in the box, and 3 out of 4 times he's probably going to try to run the ball, and we'll have a good chance to stop him. And then at some point they're going to see that we have 9 guys in the box. They're going to abandon the run, put it in Baker's hands, and Baker just, maybe it's because he's hurt. I personally believe that there's a lot that's going into that.
Yeah, and I looking back at the film, I mean it was another week of guys open and him just not seeing them. And there, I got to tell you, I know that it some say it does, some say it doesn't. You find a lane or whatever. But there were a couple plays where I could tell you right now that there were a couple guys open, but the way Baker was stuck behind our line, he can't see over them. And the way the linemen, defensive and offense, were stacked in front of him, there was no lane either. So so now you've got, in certain situations, you've got another variable, right? Because you've got the wide receiver having to get separation, them running the right route to be in the right spot, and then is it clean enough for him to be able to see if they are there in the right spot, right? So it makes it that much tougher. And I mean, that's the story. I mean, I wish I could sit here and say that you know he's still not missing reads and whatnot, but I mean that's still going on too. And the whole injury thing, I get it, but if you're well enough to be on the field, then you're telling me that you're well enough to play like you're going to play if you're healthy. And he's slinging the ball fine. He's just making bad decisions.
I do think his accuracy is off.
A little bit.
I think he's sailing balls in a lot of cases.
But at the same time, then you go, and I mean, you see Josh Allen, you see Tom Brady, you see Aaron Rodgers, any number of those guys. Like if they throw an interception, I mean, it's they tried to take a shot and it just didn't work out. Or, there's the off chance where, they tried to get cute and, it turns out not too good. And that doesn't happen that often. But the interception that he threw that really turned the tide of the game. I don't know if they were ever going to win that game. Don't get me wrong, but that took all the wind out of the sails. And then the Patriots just they just went unanswered.
You sent me the tweet too, where he had, and I saw it as it was happening. He had 2 guys wide open in the middle of the field when he threw the ball, when he threw the interception. And you're right.
And when he throws that interception, Mike, I mean, he's rolled out on that play, and he is literally staring at double coverage. I mean, you're talking about a man high and a man low on the guy. Like there's I can't remember who the receiver was, but you rocket arm McGraw and I just made that up, but picture Rocket Arm McGraw,
Okay.
this big guy with a missile arm, right? Even Rocket couldn't make that throw. And I don't even know if my
I
fictitious
don't even think
character
I
would
don't
have
e-
made that throw.
I have to go back to look at it. I don't even think Njoku. I think Njoku was surprised it was even coming to him.
Is that who it was? I couldn't remember
I'm
who
pretty
was.
sure it was to okay, I'm not 100% now.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was.
I want to say it was Njoku. I want to say it was thrown at him.
Yeah, it might have
Um,
been. And I mean,
which is again like why is Njoku spread out wide? He's a tight end. Like
and I'm pretty sure we were in 13 personnel there too. So I mean, that's your options: the tight end and a
right.
receiver.
And somebody was saying on Twitter too. They're like, okay, basically Stefanski has two different play sets. He has obvious run, and which is you see the guy back there, they're gonna run, and he motions Harrison Bryant over to the side. Then he motions him back into like an offset eye,
Yep.
and then you have empty backfield, everybody out
And
wide,
and let me ask you a question, Mike,
6 wide receivers.
and answer this for me. You ready? Where else did you see, right, an offense that either looked obvious, like, okay, they're going to run the ball, or empty set, well, they're going to throw it. But the only difference is in the other thing that I'm talking about, it was all deep downfield throws, deep outs, deep ins, digs. And in this offense, it's, the intermediate stuff. It's Freddie Kitchens, dude. Just a different, just
Freddie,
a different.
Freddie and Todd Monken's offense. Yeah,
It's just a different in Freddie's. It was all downfield stuff, right? Not much play action, but it's irrelevant. Play action or not, it was literally, okay, they're going to run the ball, or it's an empty set and they're throwing.
yeah.
And it's the same thing you're seeing now, just a different scheme, but the look is the same.
Mike, I'm telling you, my wife who watches one football game a week with me and has probably in her life not watched more than 40 football games. It was sitting there going, they're running the ball this play. They're running the ball this play. And she can call it out. So if my wife, who is completely uninitiated when it comes to like knowing how offenses work, can guess the play and call it out, you gotta believe other defensive coordinators who are professional people trying to stop offenses can clearly see it too. Why is it in Kevin Stefanski's second year, with basically the entire same personnel set, we have gone backwards in terms of creativity, in terms of we don't roll Baker out anymore. The creativity that we do have doesn't work anymore at all. We haven't seen like a really good reverse or or triple option or flea flicker. We haven't seen anything work this year from a razzle dazzle standpoint.
And then on the
Whereas
flip
last year
side,
everything worked.
yeah. And then on the flip side, I mean, and don't get me wrong. I mean, he has always been an excellent offensive coordinator in Josh McDaniels. But I mean, the plan that he put together, I mean, it was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Run, 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 screen pass. Run, 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 throw downfield. Run, run. All right, let's set him up with another screen pass. Screen pass. I mean,
Then it was like reverse.
and then a reverse. Like,
I counted 3 reverses in that game.
yeah, it was beautiful.
Who does 3 reverses in a game and they all work?
And they all work. That's how dizzy he had us. And it's just, it's amazing. I don't know. I want it all to work. I really do. But I have a strong suspicion that, unless this thing turns around and starts shaping up. Jay Glazer came out today and he had a couple things to say, one of which, and I'll be short on this because I really don't care, but he pretty much said that, literally the day OBJ got traded to Cleveland, he was talking to Jay Glazer, asking him if he can get him out of there and get him to Los Angeles. That's how long this has been going on, that he wanted to get out and go out there. And then on the flip side, Glazer said that, it's right now inside the Browns organization, they're trying to figure out, like, what are they going to do next year. You can't give him the big money. I mean, he's already signed with the 5th-year option, so he'll be there. But all options are on the table, essentially, is what he said. Whether that be, looking at an Aaron Rodgers, if he would even want to come here, or or a Russell Wilson in a trade or something like that. Which Russ is 32. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'd want to give up any future to get him in, but I don't know. Thankfully I'm not the GM, but draft a guy.
Could you see us bringing in a guy like Russell Wilson and then breaking Russell Wilson, and like
Yeah,
and then being like making him be pedestrian and being like, I mean, I could see that happening.
yeah, and I think, I mean, and anything's possible. I mean, the Packers made him look horrible last week, but um, I just don't know. Mike, to what you just said, I would say, if whoever that quarterback was that was brought in, and let's say a Russell Wilson, we'll say, unless his skills reading a defense and going through his reads, regressed to the point of what I'm seeing when I watch the film, yeah, then we'd have a serious issue. But the Aaron Rodgers of the world and the Russell Wilsons, they're not, they're not missing reads left and right. And I mean, you could blame the arm and or the shoulder for a lot of things, but the one thing that you can't blame is not being able to see guys being open, and guys have been open all year long.
Yeah. Well, you think of the possible scenarios of which direction we go. I mean, I think one scenario that makes a lot of sense. I'm not saying that I'm advocating for this, so like, don't think that I'm not on a team when it comes to like what we're doing. I'm just throwing out a scenario.
Yep.
Is a move with we moved Baker, and if we moved him, to Houston. He's from Texas. It makes sense. They need a quarterback, right? I mean, they're not going to go long term with Tyrod, right? So it totally makes sense. It's a place where he would fit in and immediately make an impact. I don't think a team like Carolina is gonna go with Baker, a guy like that. I think they took a stab with Darnold and they're like, this ain't gonna work. They're gonna go back into the draft pool. You look at the other teams that are out there that need quarterbacks. I mean, there's actually not that many teams that need them. I think we're more likely, we wouldn't be as likely to get a guy like Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson as we'd be getting a guy like Kirk Cousins.
And yeah, and I mean, we can all look at it any way we want to look at it, but something is broken, right? So you figure, and OBJ had he had 1 day of practice, so you can't really use Monday night as a gauge, or to what we might see from him in Los Angeles. But I mean, if you take a sample through 8 games or whatever, and or you take the 2 off in the front because OBJ wasn't there.
Yep.
I mean, you had your offensive line, barring a couple injuries here and there, but they still played well. You had the offensive line. You've got Hooper and Bryant and Njoku and OBJ and Jarvis and DPJ and Higgins. And then you got Hunt and Chubb. And it ain't working. So at what point do you have to say, okay, what is it? Is it Baker? Is it Stefanski? Is it both? I can't imagine it's both. I can't. I mean, even though I don't like the offense that he runs, it's got to be. I feel like if you have a bigger quarterback, I mean, I think Ben Roethlisberger has us sitting at, 7-3. I really believe that. So I can't imagine. It's one or the other, right? It has to be. And you know what? We don't have a choice because it has to be. We can't lose both, right?
Yeah.
They're not going to get rid of the coach, but they could make a change at the quarterback position. So you look at all that talent all year, and I mean, we couldn't do anything. So you can't lose both of them.
No.
So you have to imagine that it's going to be and again, for everybody listening, this is if the wheels come off this thing. But you know what I think the shame in the whole thing is, Mike, and you could tell me what you think about it. The shame in this whole thing is last year was fake, right? In my eyes, it was fake. And the only reason I say that is because there were no fans in the stands. There's nobody screaming to get those penalties that we love to get on those pre-snap penalties. There's no screaming to confuse the head coach while he's hurrying up and trying to make a play call or whatever. It's like everything is silent, and you're just, like you said earlier, you're in a vacuum. Yeah, you're in a vacuum, and it's like, no big thing. So it's so difficult for me to compare last year to this year.
Yeah.
Because first off, everything was perfect last year. And again, was everything as perfect as it could be? Now, you had the COVID scares and stuff like that, but everybody did.
Yep.
But it was a very relaxed atmosphere. It wasn't a true NFL season with those ebbs and flows and that intense ups and downs and I wish it was a regular season so we could see, we could make that comparison. Because I got to be honest with you, me personally, and I don't know how other people feel, I can't compare something to last year because of the unique situation that it was in. Some people will say, "Oh no, it was harder." Was it? Because I beg to differ.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. You hit the nail on the head about the COVID situation and kind of the advantages that they got. Um, but you're right. They're not gonna move off Stefanski. They absolutely could move off of Joe Woods. I think Joe Woods and his defensive staff are the ones that are massively at risk. I think Stefanski and his offensive staff. I mean, it's going to be his call who he keeps there. I don't think Van Pelt is going to go anywhere. He might be able to pull in somebody better, but the reality is, I mean, there's there was somebody who was talking about today. It was on Twitter, and they were like, we just got to bring in. If we bring in another quarterback will do this, this, and this. There's a supply and demand problem in the NFL. The NFL is not college. My dad talks about this all the time. He's like, God, what about the kid who every year there's a kid who plays for USC and Alabama and Clemson and University of Florida and Ohio State and Michigan. There are quarterbacks all over the place. But you know how many of them are actually qualified to play in the NFL and actually start for one of the 32 teams? Very, very few.
Yeah, select handful, maybe.
Exactly. You have to have that it factor, that talent that goes above and beyond. It is very difficult to find that guy. You can't just grab Ian Book at a Notre Dame and throw him in, in a Browns game. You can't do that. Like, there are talented players in high school and they go to college. They're talented guys in college, but to translate their game to the NFL, it is, you go from a hobby, and I know that sounds weird, but like, it's a hobby to you're making your livelihood with this and you're a professional, and there's a difference between them. That's why you have guys like Joe Flacco that comes out of like a nothing school like Delaware.
Yeah,
and
right around the corner.
And can translate his game to the NFL because he had that thing. Right?
Yeah.
Whereas Matt Leinart from USC could not. It doesn't make sense. It shouldn't work like that, but it does. And where this is where we have to look at and go, guys, where are we gonna what quarterback is available? And they're talking about going to get Mitch Trubisky. Get the fuck out of here with Mitch
Yeah,
Trubisky.
no. I mean,
that would be almost as bad as, AJ McCarron. It's like, let's make a desperate move. I do think the situation is going to be like this. I think it's going to play out just like it played out for Drew Brees and the Chargers when they drafted Phillip Rivers. It's going to be, we're going to have a mediocre season. We're going to draft somewhere in the middle teens, maybe low teens, right? Yep. Doubt it's going to be top 10. I'd be shocked if we would have to collapse if it was top 10. But it's going to be low to mid teens. And we're not gonna get the cream of the crop quarterback. We're probably not gonna get a shot at like Pickett, but there's gonna be somebody in there, and we're gonna have to luck our way into a Roethlisberger or a Mahomes, or Lamar. Like we're gonna have to, or Deshaun Watson. We're gonna have to luck our way into the guy that maybe had some red flags or just wasn't everybody. There wasn't a consensus number one guy.
And I got to tell you, and I haven't gotten to the draft yet, but I do like Kenny Pickett a lot. He you know who Kenny Pickett reminds me of? Ben Roethlisberger, just a couple inches shorter and not as thick, but his game is very, 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 very close to Ben Roethlisberger's game. But I know.
But I'll tell you who's going to be there in like the mid teams. Howell from UNC is going to be there at that spot.
And somebody just mocked Pickett to us at 16 or 19 or something like that. I mean, it could happen, but and look, we hope that we're not worrying about that. And Baker shows us that he's the guy. But I mean, in all actuality, right? And like Pressure Jones in the chat just said, Baker needs more time. How much time do you give a guy? You usually, right? You see guys like Josh Allen and Justin Herbert, and you go back to like an Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson or whatever.
Immediately.
I mean, you're talking
Dak Prescott immediately.
Yeah, at the high end, you're talking 20 games, and they said, you know what, this is our guy. $40 million, $38 million, whatever the going rate is at that time. Give him the bag.
Yep. Wrap him up for good. Josh Allen. Wrap him up. But he's our guy for the next whatever.
Correct. But when you are at the point where you pick up your number one draft pick's fifth year option, and you're not even talking at all right now, and I can tell you that there's no talks going on right now, that I know for a fact. And there's no talks going on in year 4.5.
Yeah.
If you're still trying to figure out now Lamar is and Pressure Jones said Lamar is a league MVP. You can't even throw him into the mix. Like he'll get his money. There's no question. Until his legs fall off, Lamar Jackson's going to be a good quarterback.
And the only reason he hasn't gotten his money yet is because every time he takes off with the ball, it is a risk that he's gonna explode.
Correct.
And he's avoided it somehow, but like it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
And back to Baker. I mean, on year 4, and I get it, right? He's been in a million different schemes, etc. I personally, and I've said it on this show 1,000 times, I think he was broken along the way. If things would have worked out and the stars aligned, you would have had rookie year Baker, the slinger that you thought you drafted, and we wouldn't even be having this conversation. But unfortunately, we're on year 4, and if you're on year 4, in the middle of year 4, and you're still asking the question, history tells you that it's probably not the guy.
Yeah.
And I hope I'm wrong. And we'll see how this, the rest of the season plays out, but there's nothing on film that I've seen that says, at least we're we're improving.
Yeah. It's
And Drew Brees is an anomaly. He's
he's the one guy that you can say, well,
that's it.
he went somewhere else and did better. I mean, there were guys that figured it out later in their career. Vinny Testaverde was a good example of it. It
But he
took
was
him
mediocre, right?
it took him a decade to be like, he had a season where he was kind of like in the mix for league MVP with the Jets, but it took him 15 years to get to that.
Yeah.
And it's like once you get to 10 to 12 years in the NFL, like you could become like Josh McCown where you just know things. It's like you're going to be good at a job if you do it for 10 to 15 years. I don't care who you are. Even if you're a backup quarterback, like you're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think the unfortunate situation is I don't think that Baker doesn't have the talent. I think he is injured this year, and that's taking a toll on him. I mean, he's not the same guy. I think that he's also not in a role within this offense was not designed to have a quarterback throw 5 touchdowns a game. So statistically, like the Bengals game was awesome. But statistically, he didn't light it up. He had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, something like 200 yards. That's what this offense is designed to do. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, throw when you have to, don't make mistakes. That's
And
what
then
we've asked Baker to do.
and then you could go back and I like Stefanski, and I think he was a good hire, and I think he'll be okay. He wasn't the guy that I wanted, and the reason why I didn't want him back then was, if you remember, I mean, he was coming off a stinker in that last playoff game for the Vikings, and it's no secret that why Stephon Diggs wanted to go to greener pastures, and it is what it is. But I mean, I can't. But here's the thing too. Even though you run 13 personnel, right? When Baker's going through his reads, right? He made the right read and found DPJ 2 weeks ago and threw that deep ball to him, right? People are getting open. And that's the thing I think that a lot of people don't understand is that, sure, is Baker designed for Stefanski's offense? No, Baker's more of I mean, he was, at least, I don't know if he is anymore, but he was like a gunslinger.
Yeah.
But at the same time, guys are open. There's opportunities to throw 3 touchdown passes. I could promise you that. I watch the film every week. The opportunity's there. He just doesn't find the open guy. He stays on one read for a very long time. And it's not like I'm saying anything new. I mean, you can go all through Twitter and of guys that do this for a living, like
Yeah.
Jake Burns, etc. Jake was very high on Baker, and you look at some of the stuff that he's been doing lately, and he's sort of coming to a realization that if this thing doesn't turn around, it's the film doesn't lie.
You know what? You know what? Another thing. Again, this is my wife pointing this out because we'll watch the Browns game, and then we might watch like the Sunday night game. We might watch the Monday night game. We might watch the Thursday game, but we only watch like little pieces of them. We're watching the Packers game the other day, and we're watching Tampa Bay, and the thing she keeps saying is, God, like Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady, they take what the defense gives them. They're taking these little dink and dunk 5-yard passes. It's what Joe Montana used to do. The
All day
West
long
Coast,
to a trophy.
the West Coast offense was designed to go dink and dunk, run, run.
Percentage.
Take a
Yeah.
couple deep shots. Tom Brady has made his living on throwing 4-yard little passes and being hyper accurate and letting the receivers make yards after the catch if they do. If not, they get the 4 yards, and it's as good as a positive run.
And let me ask you
We
this,
don't
Mike.
do that, Mike.
No, we don't, Mike. And let me ask you this. You just said it, right? The West Coast offense is dink and dunk kind of thing, right? You want the high percentages, etc., right?
Yep.
But if you go to Kansas City, Andy Reid's been running the West Coast offense. I mean, he learned the offense from from uh why can't I think of the 49ers
Walsh,
coach, Bill
Bill
Walsh.
Walsh. Yeah.
He was on his staff, right? He's running the West Coast offense. And the last time I checked, Mahomes dinks and dunks his way to 3, 4, 5, sometime touchdowns a week. The guys are open. You just got to have the talent to find them.
Yeah. Well,
And that's just the bottom line.
that I think that is, it's the unfortunate thing that, like, again, I'm not saying that Baker's not a good player. I think Baker can be a good player, and I want him to be a good player.
Yeah, absolutely. We spend too much.
And this last game, I mean, I don't know how much you can blame truly on Baker. I really don't. You had guys dropping balls. DPJ dropped the ball, and Joku dropped the worst drop of the season. When it hit Joku in the hands like that, that was the worst drop I've seen all season. That is a complete I quit, give up, no concentration. Baker threw a bullet. It hit him right in the gut, and he just dropped the ball. And you can't drop. That's the same thing that was happening in Cincinnati the previous week. Jamar Chase, those guys, they were dropping balls that were hitting him in the hands. Right? Hitting him in the fucking hands. And so you lose games when that stuff happens. But then on top of it, you like you were saying, when he doesn't help himself out a lot of times by missing guys who are open.
Or throwing to a guy that's clearly double covered.
Yeah, you can't do it.
But I mean, that's just him though, isn't it? He wants to do everything better than the next guy. He should have never reached his arm in there and squared up a safety. I mean, we know that. And I mean, you there's that old saying, right? You reap what you sow. And we're seeing that with Baker. He's that tough guy, right?
Yeah, totally.
And that tough guy mentality, let me square up the safety. Now he's been hurt the whole year in a game that he wasn't playing very well in. But it is what it is. We'll see what goes on. We'll see if they bring this Barge Trophy back home. But
the Barge Trophy. Yeah, he's
Great Lakes Classic, baby.
He said he's definitely playing this week. So there's no drama that we might see Case Keenum. I think Case Keenum can beat the Lions. I think he gives us a better chance to beat the Lions this week, to be honest. And I'm being 100% honest on that. I think he gives us a better chance.
Yeah, Mike, sorry.
I think the Lions are smelling some blood in the water.
Mm-hmm.
I think they realize they have a chance to win this. They had a chance to win last week, and so they're getting closer and closer to a win. They're not an inept team like the 0-16 Lions or the 0-16 Browns. This is a team that can win a game. They're gonna win. Yeah. They're gonna win a couple. I would say that Lions end up with 2 to 3 victories at the end of the season. I hope to God it's not against us.
But here's the thing, and so here's things that we do know, right?
Yeah.
Baker's hurt. I mean, he's got like 19 designations on the injury report, right? It sounds like,
and also he's also
knees and
mentally
toes. You know that song?
They should add his mentals aren't good.
They should. They could throw that on the end, but it is. It is. I mean, it's like shoulder, knees, and toes. I mean, I think the only thing that's missing is toe on there. I'm being funny, but so he's hurt, right?
Yeah.
But we think he's going to play. But he said that before and he hasn't. But let's say he is. We've heard nothing about Chubb. He's still in the protocol, which tells me that he has not produced a negative test yet, right? And today's Wednesday, and he wasn't out there.
He's got real COVID. It's not false positive. He's really got COVID.
He's got it. So hurt Baker, no Chubb. DPJ tweaked his groin today, so we don't know about DPJ. We'll go a step back, correct? No Hunt. So hurt Baker, no Chubb, no Hunt.
Hurt Jarvis.
Jarvis is hurt. DPJ tweaked his groin during the open portion of practice.
And that
Um,
let's pause there for a second.
yep.
Tweaking a groin isn't like like tweaking a neck
Right.
or tweaking an elbow.
Right.
Tweaking a groin is like disastrous for a guy who makes a living with his legs.
Yep.
That is something that is now going to be an injury that's going to linger on for the rest of the year, and you can't even like take a shot. You can't even take a cortisone shot to like make that pain go away, the
Yep.
inflammation go away. You can't really do it.
No.
So
And
so he's going to be now playing at
if he plays, right?
right. So then now who are wide receivers? Injured Jarvis,
So then
Higgins, who's not playing, who just hasn't been playing.
that's
Period.
it, Mike. That's it. Because right
And
now,
Schwartz.
no, Schwartz is in the concussion protocol still.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So literally right now, if DPJ has the groin, we're gonna have a hurt Jarvis, Higgins, and I don't know, Jamarcus Bradley, like whoever they bring up, Davion Davis, maybe. I don't know,
Jojo
whoever
Natson.
JoJo Natson, whoever they bring up. So I mean, it's
It's gonna be
it could be a
you're gonna
recipe for
you're
disaster.
gonna see a lot of heavy sets and utilization of tight ends.
Yep.
You're gonna see a lot of tight
A
end
lot of
play,
13.
a lot of 13, and it's this isn't the same Browns that started the season against Kansas City. It's not. It's a different
Right.
Browns team. Now, let me throw this out to you as well, because
Yeah.
we got to get to the PFF section. My dad's, I can hear him, but
Trust
um,
me, there's not much to it. It'll take us 2 minutes to go through the PFF.
okay, we're
That's why
probably
I
all
wasn't
done.
too concerned, but we'll go through
So I want to throw. Did you see Brandon Little's tweet 4 hours ago
it. I
about?
probably did. What was it about?
Okay, this is in regards to OBJ's "I am who I am."
Oh,
Okay,
the video.
okay. This is from Brandon Little 4 hours ago. So Brandon Little SI at Brandon Little SI. I like Brandon Little. Um, After 6 months, OBJ's doctor told him he could play right now. So there
Yep.
was there was likely no way that OBJ should have missed the Browns' first couple of games. Now, before I get to the rest of it, I want to say OBJ was practicing at full strength. He was practicing at full speed, full strength.
We saw it.
Yeah, I mean they were showing clips of it left and right.
Yep.
OBJ catching one-handed balls,
And
OBJ
he was
running.
showing us, right? He was showing us too on his Instagram.
Yeah. So then the final thing Brandon says is rumor that he chose to sit could be true.
Yep.
And then remember the next game after he didn't play in Kansas City, the next game, wasn't it that didn't Stefanski come out and say, I'm the one who chose to sit OBJ? I'm pretty
Um,
sure Stefanski was the one
no,
who's
you know what? I don't think he ever, and I could be wrong, but if I don't think he ever said I think it was always we deferred to the doctors. If I'm
okay. I want to go chat. Chat, keep me honest here, and I might reach
yeah.
out to Brandon and ask him. But that's who it is. So then after Brandon Little tweets this out, he blocks him.
Really, that I did not know.
OBJ after that tweet blocked Brandon Little. Brandon
Interesting.
Little's not a nothing guy. He's Browns Digest. It's at Sports Illustrated now. Verified 12,000 followers. Like he's not a nothing. And OBJ blocks him.
Yeah, that's wild.
Wait, hold on a second. Did OBJ block me? Let me see something here.
I mean, this would be a week for you, my friend. If OBJ blocked you,
No, he didn't
you'd
block me.
you would have had a trifecta.
That would have proven that like I got under his skin with some of the shit that I was tweeting out, which is just
I,
funny.
that would have been great.
But I'm telling you, man, I think I believe. Yeah, and Max Nikolenko says too. I believe Kevin did say it was his decision to sit OBJ after Kansas City. Kansas City wasn't on him. OBJ sat on his own, and then after that, he said it's my decision to sit OBJ. I think he was punishing him,
Maybe, yeah.
and I think part of this whole like when he did the video where he didn't call Stefanski and then he didn't call Baker, and then Stefanski went to the team and said OBJ is not part of this team anymore. He made the decision. He forced his hand. He made the decision. He said, "Go ahead and you're gonna have to go be a man right now." And he said, "Are you gonna be a man? Or are you gonna be a bitch about this?" And Kevin Stefanski said, "I'm gonna be a man. You're off the team."
Right.
Right. So I think that there was more friction with OBJ and Stefanski because OBJ wanted the ball, and Stefanski was not going to design an offense around OBJ. He was designing an offense around Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt because Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt give the Browns the best chance to win. OBJ does not. So a lot of potential stuff. I think over the next couple months, we're gonna start seeing stuff. Squabbling Mike Hilly, more blocks from Denver than Dikembe Mutombo. My God, dude. Squabble. If I had a dime for every time you said something and I started laughing, man, I'd be a rich man.
If you play back this stuff, like if you play back our show, and then and if you see me like smirk out of nowhere,
that's the same thing. I feel like I'm the same way. It's like it's always something. It's always something Squabble says, and I start chuckling. I'm like
if you time the chat with the with the video, you'd be like, "Yep, there it is." Squabble said something.
Chubba Wubba Hub, how's it going, man? I see you guys out there. I see you all out there. We're reading the chat as we're ripping through.
That's my favorite part of the night. I'll be honest with you.
Let's Mike. Let's get to the PFFs. I've got. I may have to wrap up. Not somewhat early, but I got some of my coworkers that are like, "Where the hell are you?"
Yeah. So we'll go quick because it's after the 4, it gets pitiful. I'll give you. All right, let's do this. I'll give you the bottom 3, the top 4. Ready?
Bottom 3, top 4. Okay.
The bottom at 18.
Are we talking
Njoku.
Offense?
Yep, offense. Was David at a 32.9 overall. Then the man of the hour that we've been talking about is 17 at a 33.1. That's your quarterback, dude. I've never seen a score this bad at PFF for your quarterback. Maybe Mike White with his 4 picks a couple weeks ago.
They said that Mike White had a better PFF score with 4 picks.
There you go.
I saw that tweet come out.
There you go. So, and then 16 was Peoples Jones at 49.4. Then if you go to the top, Batonio was 1 with an 80. D'Ernest was 2 with a 72.3, and what a sin. I think actually Squabble was talking about it earlier. Like they couldn't get the poor guy 1 yard, that he had to end up with 99 yards rushing. I mean, yeah. Anyway, it's never a good week when your fullback comes in at 3 with a 68.3. And Hooper was 4 with a 66.8. And then the rest of the team were in the 50s. And then you literally went 80, 72, 68, 66, all 50s, 49 Peoples Jones, 33 Baker, 32.9 Njoku. So it just I mean, it was bad.
What about on? I can't wait to see the defense.
So
did anybody break 50?
So before we get to the defense, just real quick, I'm going to throw this out there just because. Mac Jones, 92.5.
Oh, my God.
Kendrick Bourne, 90.2. Trent Brown, 87.3. David Andrews, 86.4. And it goes on and on
Mac Jones is the steal of this draft, guys.
92.5. Cool as the other side of the pillow, as the great Stuart Scott would say.
And executed his play action, everything was.
Beautiful.
I mean, it was picturesque. He is an NFL quarterback, and although ESPN and all those guys wanted you to believe that Zach Wilson and all these guys are going to be Mac Jones, I think Trevor Lawrence is still going to be okay, but Mac Jones is the guy. So anyway, defense.
See, I'm laughing again because Squabble had it funny.
I just want to hear Mike scream at his goers, "Give me a hot minute! I'm doing PFFs."
So
they might actually be listening right now because I just sent them the link, so maybe they are.
So you don't even want it. Well, I'll give you the top.
Miles is probably one.
Yeah, 81.2. Mac Wilson is a 78.8.
It figures Mac Wilson's a 78.8 in a game we give up 45 points.
Yep. Tommy Tajai was a 71.2.
Hey man, I was a 78.8 last week. PFF. Where's my love? You gave up 45 points, dude. It's like being the tallest midget.
Yep.
Congratulations.
And
actually, and I apologize. I know that's probably not, from what I understand, that's not the right word to use, as Tony Grossi once said. I think he called Baker that word.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
Instantly regretted saying that, by the way.
That's all right. We forgive you. Yeah, I thought it was great. Tommy G. His first game as a rookie, and watching the tape, he flashed here and there. It was pretty nice. And then, man, it pains me to say, and he was coming off an injury, and he didn't play much. He only had 20 snaps, but JOK came in last at 29.6. Troy Hill at a 32.5. Herb Miller at a 33.4. And John Johnson 37.4. I mean, they were just, Denzel played well. He was in the 60s, but I mean, he was tops of the back end. JJ3 and Greg Newsome and Troy Hill were all at the bottom. So yeah, I mean, there was,
it's pretty bad.
There was nothing to write home about.
On to the Lions. I think basically I'm just hearing that Jared Goff is not practicing. I didn't hear why.
Oblique.
Okay, so there's a chance he may not play. But I don't know if that's good or bad. I think he's gone from a guy who played in the Super Bowl to, just an afterthought. Yeah. That's a meteoric drop off the face. It's like Kaepernick. You're playing in the Super Bowl and then you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah.
Right after that. So I don't know what the hell's going on with him, but he can't figure out how to win games. They're obviously building for the future, and they've got all those first round draft picks from LA and everything. They're gonna have to rebuild. And they're probably going to be in the QB sweepstakes. Although, who knows? Maybe they go with Goff for another year and say, "Screw it, let's go get another first overall pick, and we'll replace him if we don't like this draft class." All in all, I think the only thing to say about the Lions is a scary game because I think these guys are hungry for a win. They don't want to be known as like one of the losingest teams in the NFL history. Nobody wants that that black eye on your professional record as being somebody who was involved in a loser team like that. And they're going to come out to play. Hopefully the Browns can shake this off, put it behind them, and do it. But I got to tell you, Mike, I am on record as being very concerned because the Lions are coming off a game where they tied and almost beat the Steelers
in their place, so they can come out and play tough against you. And we're coming off the worst loss in the Baker Mayfield era. And that is scary. Yeah. And on top of that, I was actually thinking about this earlier. If you're the Lions, right? And to your point, they just went to, and albeit there was no Roethlisberger, but you go up to Heinz Field and you probably should have won the game actually, but you tie, right? And you played them tough the whole game. And then now you're going to Cleveland, where to a man in the locker room in Detroit, they know what's going on in Cleveland. They read Twitter and Facebook and all that shit just like we do.
Yep.
So if the Browns think for 1 second that the Lions aren't right now with a battle cry of they've given up, they don't care anymore. Last week was, last week, they showed it on the field. They gave up. They don't care anymore. They're ripe for the pickings. We could go in there. Everybody thinks that we don't have a chance and we can whoop them. That's what's going on over there.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that's the message right
Oh,
now.
I'm absolutely sure. Like they're like, guys, we have our chance. This is our chance to get off the schneid and to turn the season around and end up somewhat respectable, even though we're not very good. And it starts this week against the Browns. Let's go put it to them.
Yeah.
And get this, they have the roadmap. They were just handed the roadmap by Josh McDaniels. If
Yeah.
you want to beat the Browns soundly, not just beat them, but soundly beat them.
And it was confirmed, right? So not only did, not to your point, not only did Josh McDaniels put a beautiful game plan together to just strip us of our clothes in the middle of the stadium, but then JJ the third came out right after the game and said they just watched film of what we just can't do really well the whole year. It's like, okay, well, you guys better figure it the frig out because they're gonna, now the Lions are gonna run the same stuff right back at you.
Yeah, and he came out there.
I
And
hope you make adjustments.
He was like, they watched film we couldn't do, and he's like, we kept calling plays that we got hit on all year. We kept calling. We resorted back to the plays that we've been sucking at. That's boom. There you go. And that's on Joe Woods, and that's on Kevin Stefanski, and we shall see, where it goes. I think Stefanski is, for what he did last year, he earned himself probably the length of his contract, whatever it is. How long do you think Kevin got? Did he get 3 or 4 years?
I can't remember what his contract was.
It's got to be at least 3,
minimum
3, and he probably signed 4, if not 5.
Let me take a peek at that real quick.
So you take a peek at that. I'll run us into final thoughts. Basically, guys, this week has been wild. It was fun messing around with the players' wives. That was fun. It was fun putting out the.
I enjoyed it from afar.
The Wyatt Teller. Did you show Laura?
Yeah. Oh yeah. She was knee deep in it too.
Lindsay was dying too. My wife like could not believe it. It actually was showing some of the people that I work with, like one of the girls that I work with, who's like kind of just right out of college, and she's like, yeah, like making fun of people or pointing out like that people aren't using spice in food is like a big thing right now. She's like, didn't you know that? I was like, no, I didn't know that. She's like, that's a big thing, is like pointing out people not using spice. But
Kevin is
5 years.
Yep.
Yeah, and he's gonna get minimum 4.
Oh yeah, he's not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere. They like him. AB likes him.
Oh yeah, you know what? He's the type of coach, Mike. You tell me if you agree. With all the turmoil between the front office and the coaches that's gone on in Cleveland, they finally got it right. Barry and Stefanski worked together. They've made some nice little draft picks here and there. Before you would ever see Stefanski go, you will see Stefanski get a quarterback of his choice, and then he'll be judged after that.
100% agree. 100% agree. And I think this, guys. I think if you go back to the 80s and when Bill Parcells was coaching the Giants, and with Belichick, and I remember listening to him talk about how they they're just teams they couldn't beat. The Bears, they're sitting there and like we just can't beat these guys. We got to figure out a way to beat them. And it took Parcells years to get us to a situation where he could win a Super Bowl. It takes guys a long time. I think Kevin Stefanski is one of those guys, when this is all said and done, this is going to be a hiccup of a year. I think he's going to have some ups and downs, and like Dave Wannstedt, not Wannstedt, Bill Cowher. like had a bunch of ups and down years and then finally figured out how to win it.
Yeah.
Right? And like that's the kind of thing that we have to at some point make a commitment to a head coach and have the stability. And I think if we're going to do that, Stefanski's the guy I want to do it with, right? So I back him. Players come and go. Players get hurt. Baker's hurt right now. Who knows if Baker's ever going to come back and be healthy again? Or if and you know how funny it is? Baker's is for all intents and purposes a pocket quarterback who shouldn't be taking hits behind this offensive line, and he gets destroyed. And he gets all these injuries. Yet Lamar Jackson runs every other damn play and gets tackled. Never a bump, not even a scratch on Lamar, which just doesn't make sense. But it's the way it is. So bottom line is we have a redemption game coming up here against the Lions. If we beat the Lions, then we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But I did not expect us to lose to the Steelers. I did not expect us to lose to the Patriots with a rookie quarterback. And I am going to be, at this point, I'm not going to say that I'd be shocked if we lost to the Lions. I'm not going to say that we're going to lose.
No, you know what? I don't even know. And you know me, I'm usually confident. I'll throw my score out there on the Wednesday show, right? I've done it pretty much all 10 weeks.
Throw it out there, man.
I can't. You know what? I honestly, Mike, I can't because I don't. With who we look like, we have on offense right now as it stands today. At what time is it? 9:36 on Wednesday. I mean. I don't know.
I think it's going to be a game that's going to be very similar to the Bears game or the Texans game. It's going to be a low-scoring game. We're not going to light it up on offense. We're going to do enough to win, and that's going to be it. Think 17-9, 14-7, 13-6. It's going to be like a low-scoring bullshit game, and we're going to get out alive, and we're going to move on to the next game, and hopefully, you know. But I think honestly, like we're a 9-8 team. I think that's where we end up, 9-8. And we don't make the playoffs. If I had to guess. But you know me, I pick win. We win every week. If it's up to me, you're never going to see an L next to my name when I do a score prediction. I will never do that. I'm not going to be like those guys from cleveland.com or, 92.3 The Fan where like LLLLL.
Yeah. I mean, right now, if I had to go with one, and it's only because I'm a homer, I would say like 16-12, like one of those
just disgusting
horrendous type of. Yeah, it's funny when Lynn just mentioned it in the chat, and I'm trying to remember exactly what she meant to put in there.
Lynn, did you get your mug yet? By the way, anyway, continue on, Mike.
Oh yeah, no. Lynn bought my tickets for Sunday, and she's gonna. She's gonna have a good time in the dog pound in those seats. It's gonna be a fun time, and I hope she does. She does get to see a win. But so when she sent the money over in Venmo, she went to put, for the reason Browns Lions game, and Lions spelled checked to Browns alibi game, which we laughed about because. It certainly could be an alibi game.
That's unbelievable. We got Michael Johnson's coming in with a super chat. Browns 7, Lions 0. Only score first drive. Oh my God, dude.
Wow, Squabble just said that Sarah still hasn't gotten her mug.
Okay, I'll check on that. Not yet, but it's shipped and on the way. Okay, I will check. I'll check on. I'll right back to the guys on. At Cleveland Clothing Co. and try to figure that out. I'm not sure why my my alert box is not popping up for your super chat, Michael. I don't know if it's just delayed.
Oh yeah,
there it is.
I didn't see it either.
Bam! It took sometimes it takes like 60 seconds for that freaking super chat to come in. But Michael Johnson, appreciate it, my man. All right, Mike, I gotta get out of here. I appreciate. I love you all. Squabble Lane. Lynn Savage, Michael Johnson, Mike R, Mr. Rollup, Wolf Stan. Who else we got in the house today?
Pressure was in the house earlier.
Ryan Burlow was chatting it up.
Burlow is in here.
I saw CH, Max Nikolenko. Who else is in here? Michael De Castillo, Del Castillo, I should say.
Isaiah was in here earlier, I
I
remember.
did. Chubbawibble Hub 24.
Yep.
I'm scrolling back through to make sure I got everybody.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure. Meg Digital, CH.
The Life of Hefe, Cruise Op. Everybody, if you happen to be in here, I appreciate you all. And we will be back on Sunday. It's a 1 o'clock game, right?
Yep.
1 o'clock game Sunday. We'll be live probably about 11:30 for the pregame show. We'll wash this week away from us and hopefully get a victory and continue moving on with life. Until then, as always, signing off for the Wednesday show. Go Browns.
Go Brownies.